The golden shafts of afternoon light poured through the intricate stained glass ceiling panels, painting the living room in a mosaic of warmth. My bare feet sank into the plush carpet as I cradled the steaming mug of tea, its delicate fragrance of jasmine and chamomile rising like a gentle sigh. My eyes drifted to the framed photograph on the wall, Daniel and I on our wedding day. Forever suspended in that moment of unadulterated joy, I wore a gown of understated elegance, its simplicity a stark contrast to the elaborate lace of the windows, while Daniel stood resplendent in his tailored black suit. Our smiles were genuine, effortless, captured by the lens without a hint of the weariness that sometimes crept into our days now. A sharp chime from my phone sliced through the reverie. The screen glowed with Daniel's name, and a message materialized. Emily, I'll likely be at the office until 9. Don't hold dinner for me. My lips tightened almost imperceptibly. This made the third evening this week. My thumbs flew across the screen. Okay, I'll keep something warm for you. Take care. After sending it, I let the device drop softly onto the coffee table, its glass surface cool against my fingertips. 3 years of marriage lay behind us, a tapestry woven with threads of comfort and routine, of shared dreams and quiet compromises. Daniel, the driven project manager at a prestigious architecture firm, poured his soul into blueprints and deadlines. I, an editor for a children's book publisher, shaped stories for young minds, my own narrative unfolding in the margins of our life together. Our apartment, a 2-bedroom haven in the heart of the city, stood as a testament to the support of both our families, a launchpad for the future we had envisioned. I moved into the kitchen, my hands falling into the well-rehearsed choreography of dinner preparation. Knife met cutting board with rhythmic precision, carrots and celery yielding beneath the blade, but my thoughts drifted, untethered, circling back to a moment 3 months earlier, a subtle shift in the air, a whisper of change I couldn't yet name. That was the day Daniel came back from his high school reunion, and since then, he had seemed distracted and distant. At first, I thought it was just work stress, but now I wasn't so sure. Maybe there was something else. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. He wiped my hands, and went to answer it. It was a deliveryman holding a carefully packaged box, an international package for Mr. Daniel Carter. He said he signed for it and looked at the box in confusion. It was from Canada. Daniel hadn't mentioned anything about an international delivery. After a moment's hesitation, I placed the package on his desk in the study. After dinner, I sat on the couch reading a book. The clock's hands crept toward 10 p.m., but Daniel still hadn't come home. I sent him a few messages, but there was no reply. Just as I was considering whether to call him, I heard the sound of the door unlocking. I am back. Daniel's voice sounded tired. I got up to greet him. You're so late. Did you eat? I grabbed something at the office, he said, taking off his jacket and avoiding my eyes. There's a project with a tight deadline. We've been in meetings all night. I noticed a faint lipstick stain in the collar of his shirt. My heart skipped a beat. I pretended not to see. Eat. As he was hanging up his jacket, I mentioned casually, there's an international package for you on your desk. It's from Canada. Daniel stiffened slightly, then quickly replied in a relaxed tone, oh, probably some documents for a company project. He headed straight into the study. I watched his back, a creeping sense of unease rising inside me. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. Daniel was already up, and I could hear water running in the bathroom. I got out of bed and walked into the study. The package had already been opened and the wrapping paper was tossed carelessly into the trash. I hesitated, then opened one of Daniel's drawers. Inside were a few documents. On top was a plane ticket to Vancouver scheduled for next Wednesday. I frowned. Daniel hadn't said anything about a business trip. He kept looking and found a hotel booking confirmation. 3 days and 2 nights at a luxury hotel in downtown Vancouver. The reservation was under the name Unijong. At the very bottom was a receipt from a jewelry store for a diamond ring. It was very expensive. My hands began to tremble. I took a deep breath. I carefully put everything back where it was and quietly closed the drawer. At breakfast, Daniel seemed to be in a great mood. He sipped his coffee while scrolling through his phone. I tried to keep my voice calm. Are you going on a business trip next week? His finger paused on the screen for a second. Oh, right, yeah. An overseas project just came up. I was just about to tell you. How long will you be gone? I asked. About 2 weeks, I think, he said, looking up with a smile. There's a design project for a commercial center in Vancouver. The company's putting a lot of importance on IT. I nodded and didn't ask any more questions. Then I noticed something. Daniel's wedding ring was gone. The ring he hadn't taken off once in the past 3 years. Where's your ring? I asked directly. Daniel looked down at his hand, a flicker of panic crossing his face. Oh, I took it off when I washed my hands yesterday. Must have forgotten it at the office. I didn't respond. I just quietly finished my breakfast and cleared the dishes. Daniel downed the rest of his coffee in a hurry and said he had an early meeting. As the door closed behind him, my tears finally fell. He wiped them away quickly, picked up my phone and dialed a number. Hey, Vivian, it's may need your help looking into something. A week later, Daniel left home with his suitcase, saying he had to catch his flight. I stood at the doorway smiling and wishing him a safe trip, but the moment the door shut, my smile vanished. He went back into the bedroom and opened his wardrobe. He had packed several sets of business and casual clothes in that bottle of cologne I gave him last year. This didn't feel like a regular business trip. I picked up my phone. Vivian had already sent me a message. Emily, I found it. Your husband did buy a ticket to Vancouver last month, but it wasn't paid for by the company. He used his personal credit card also. The hotel bookings he made over there all for double rooms. I gripped my phone tightly, my knuckles turning white. I called Vivian immediately. Can you find out who he's going with? There was a short pause on the other end. He asked a friend at immigration to check the records. Last time he went to Canada, there was a woman on the same flight named Xiao Yulin. They were seated together. The name Xiao Yulin felt like a knife piercing straight into my chest. Of course, I knew that name. She was Daniel's first love, his deskmate in high school. They broke up during college because of the distance. Daniel had once casually mentioned that she immigrated to Canada. And there's something worse, Vivian said, her voice hesitant. I asked a friend in Vancouver to check the marriage registry. Daniel and Xiao Yulin registered their marriage there last month. The world spun around. May had to lean against the wall to keep from collapsing. Are you sure? I asked, my voice shaking. The records are clear and there are photos, she said quietly. Emily, I'm so sorry. I hung up like a machine and collapsed onto the floor. The marriage I had believed in for the past 3 years turned out to be nothing but a lie. Daniel hadn't just cheated on me, he'd committed bigamy overseas. I sat there for a long time, numb until the sunset cast a dim light across the room. Then slowly I stood up, wiped my tears, and my eyes hardened with resolve. Over the next 2 days, I turned into a detective, gathering every piece of evidence I could find. I logged into Daniel's cloud account and uncovered intimate photos of him and Xiao Yulin. Combed through his bank records. I discovered that over the past 6 months, Daniel had transferred money multiple times to an overseas account. I even found email exchanges between him and a realtor discussing their plans to buy a house in Canada. But the thing that shattered me the most was what I saw on Xiao Yulin's social media. Ash had already publicly announced her pregnancy. The post included a photo of her and Daniel on the beach in Vancouver. Daniel had his hand gently resting on her slightly rounded belly. By the timeline, she was about 7 weeks along. He printed out every piece of evidence and calmly began thinking about my next move. I consulted a lawyer and learned that Daniel's actions constituted bigamy, which would give me a significant advantage in the divorce proceedings. You could claim full ownership of the jointly owned property, the lawyer said, adjusting his glasses, and you're entitled to claim emotional distress compensation. I nodded. I already had a plan. I took a leave of absence from the publishing house and began organizing everything in our home. I packed up everything that belonged to me and left behind what belonged to Daniel, the wedding photo, our matching mugs, the souvenirs we bought on our honeymoon. Those once sweet memories now felt bitterly ironic. While soaring through the study, I stumbled upon a diary Daniel had hidden deep in the back of a drawer. I hadn't meant to read it, but a folded page with a dog ear caught my eye. It read, finally saw Xiaoyu again. She's still as beautiful as ever. Life with Emily is too bland. Need passion. Xiaoyu says she's pregnant. I have to take responsibility. Getting married in Canada was a good idea. Emily will never find out. The last tear I would ever shed for this marriage fell onto the cover of that diary. A week later, I had already hired movers and found a new apartment. I contacted a real estate agent and sold our home for slightly under market value. It didn't matter. I would be getting the full amount from the sale anyway. The buyer agreed to pay in full as long as we complete the paperwork within a week. The agent told me I nodded. In the day we signed the agreement, I looked around at what had once been a cozy, love-filled home. I felt nothing. The movers worked efficiently. In just one day, they cleared out everything I had decided to take with me, left behind only Daniel's personal items and the furniture neatly stacked in the center of the living room. At last, I taped 2 things to the empty wall: a signed divorce agreement and a notice of property sale. The divorce agreement clearly stated that I would receive all marital assets, including the proceeds from the apartment. I glanced around one final time, making sure I hadn't left anything important. My eyes landed on the key rack by the front door. There had always been 2 keys hanging there, one for me, one for Daniele. Took mine and left his. The sound of the closing door echoed through the empty hallway. I rolled my suitcase toward the elevator without looking back. In the cab on the way to my new apartment, I pulled out my phone and blocked Daniel on every platform.
If you like my channel, please give it a thumbs up and follow. Thank you, everyone. If you like my channel, please give it a thumbs up and follow. Thank you, everyone. If you like my channel, please give it a thumbs up and follow. Thank you, everyone. If you like my channel, please give it a thumbs up and follow. Thank you, everyone.
I followed her gaze, felt a cold shock shoot through me. Standing beneath a willow tree was Daniel. He looked completely worn down, his face gaunt with a scruffy beard, and disheveled hair. His hands were stuffed into the pockets of a wrinkled checkered shirt that replaced his once perfectly tailored suit's deep shadows hung under his eyes, and the confident, superior air he once carried was gone, replaced by something timid and defeated. I instinctively pulled Dora behind me, my eyes locked on this stranger who used to be the most familiar person in my life. Daniel seemed to want to approach, but didn't dare in the end. He simply stood there and gave a small nod, like acknowledging an acquaintance he had stumbled across by accident. I noticed everything, the way he had changed. He no longer resembled the man I had once married, and yet seeing him like this didn't stir any pity in me, only distance, only closure. Auntie, who is he? Dora asked curiously. Just someone I used to know, I replied softly. Come on, let's go. Ride the boats. I took her hand and turned away without looking back, but after a few steps, I paused. I pulled a business card from my wallet, turned around, and walked back to Daniel. This is my lawyer's contact, I said, my voice steady, devoid of emotion. Any further matters regarding the divorce agreement should go through him. Don't try to contact me or my friends or family ever again. Daniel took the card, his lips trembling like he wanted to say something, but I was already walking away. He stood there watching as the woman he had once loved took the hand off a child and walked into the golden sunlight. It wrapped around them like a halo while he remained behind in the shadow. When I got home, I called my sister and briefly told her what had happened. He followed you all the way to Hangzhou. Laura's voice was full of anger. Do you want me to call the police? I don't think he followed me, I said, shaking my head. Maybe he heard from Vivian that I was in Hangzhou and came here on a whim, but don't worry, I already gave him my lawyer's business card. He won't show up again. After hanging up the call, I stepped out onto the balcony and took a deep breath. The emotional ripple from running into Daniel was far calmer than I'd expected. No anger, no sorrow, not even resentment. Just a quiet sense of regret for something that had once been beautiful but ultimately fell apart. The doorbell rang unexpectedly. It was a courier delivering a package. When I opened it, I found a beautifully bound illustrated book manuscript. The author was a rising illustrator named Surian. The publisher had specifically asked me to serve as lead editor. I flipped to the first page. It showed a silhouette of city under a starlit sky with a caption that read, "Dedicated to those who still believe in the light, even in the darkest of times." A smile tugged at my lips. This was my new life, creative, hopeful work, beloved family and friends, and a future filled with endless possibilities. As for the past, I picked up the thick envelope that Daniel had mailed me, a handwritten letter full of apologies. Without even opening it, I tore it cleanly in half and dropped it into the trash. Some mistakes can't be undone. Some trust, once broken, can never be repaired. The next morning, I took Dora to the most popular children's amusement park in Hangzhou. She laughed gleefully as she rode the carousel, her smile pure and radiant. I raised my phone and captured the moment. Hesitating for a second before opening my social media, I uploaded the photo with a simple caption: "The things that truly matter in life." No location, no explanation, but it said everything. I was no longer the betrayed wife, no longer the victim of a failed marriage. I was someone new, whole, strong, and entirely myself. Meanwhile, in a dim apartment in Beijing, Daniel scrolled past that post, and in that moment, he finally understood what he had lost: not a house, not a marriage, but a woman who had once loved him with her whole heart, trusted him unconditionally, and was willing to give him everything. He turned off his phone and picked up the lone wedding ring on his table for the last time. He ran his finger over the date engraved inside, then with a final motion, he threw it into the garbage bin downstairs, just as I had thrown away his letter, with no hesitation, with no turning back.